All right, up next, receive a presentation from the Traffic Management Working Group regarding the strategy to plan traffic safety congestion in the community of Londonderry.
Keep seeing fields of blue.
We have blocking the view.
Okay, it's right here.
Thank you all for being patient with us tonight. It's a very important topic, so who wants to start us off?
I'm going to kick
Okay.
it off just real
Yep.
briefly because I want the people that did the work, which is these folks here, to
Yeah.
do most of the talking.
Okay.
So, shortly after I got here, I created the Traffic Management Working Group. It's to work with the Traffic Safety Committee to actually do some of the nuts and bolts work to start moving forward on a number of issues in terms of traffic congestion and traffic safety. And the purpose is 6 different items: evaluate traffic conditions, coordinate departmental efforts, develop solutions, leverage technology and data, advise leadership, and promote public safety. So there's a whole range of things that were done. These folks are going to go through that in detail. I encourage you to ask them questions, but they've put a lot of work into this, working together, police department, DPW, and the planning department. Just introduce yourselves, if you would, starting over here, Mike, and what
Mike,
you do.
Mike Bazigian, I'm the GIS manager.
James Danis, I'm Deputy Director of Public Works.
John Trotter, Director of Engineering and Environmental Services.
Alvin Betancourt, Police Captain.
Chris Olson, Police Lieutenant.
So there's a lot of slides in it, it's like 56, but some of them we're going to go through really quickly because the purpose of this will go on our website because it's informational for the general public, but we are going to go through those rather quickly, some of those. Feel free to stop us anywhere along the way because this is a presentation to you. And I want to thank Kirsten for putting her work together, putting this PowerPoint together and putting some fine tuning on it. Next slide.
You guys take the time you need. Don't feel rushed because, I want to make sure we address this topic. So it's very important to me and to the town, so.
Thank you, Sean. Again, I'm John Trotter, Director of Engineering. Again, I'm going to give you an overview of the objectives and the mission of the Traffic Management Working Group. As Sean indicated, this group was created back in October of 2025. We meet monthly or more frequently if needed. Again, our charge was to evaluate traffic conditions, coordinate departmental efforts, develop solutions, leverage technology and data, advise the leadership, and promote public safety. The organization, as we went down the line, from the town manager's office, planning department, the Department of Public Works, and the police department are all members of the working management group. The group will prepare periodic reports summarizing findings, recommendations, and actions taken, which will be submitted to the town manager and, when appropriate, presented to the Traffic Safety Committee and the Town Council. So I'm going to give you just a quick overview of where we're at, where we came from. The first task that was the committee overtook was to review current traffic conditions and to identify roadways and intersections with traffic safety and congestion concerns. The group identified 46 sections of roadway or intersections that posed that concern. Of the 46, 17 were identified as the highest priority locations, and in order to address those concerns in those locations, we need to do additional analysis at each identified location, and by doing that, we need additional traffic data. We need traffic counts, we need identify the number of vehicles that are going through there, the volume, the speed at which traffic is going through that, as well as any accident data. So the strategies that we're going to develop will be identified to include enforcement and/or infrastructure improvements. So several identified concern areas are state roads, and will entail Town of Londonderry advocating for state routes to be included in the DOT 10-year plan. The town needs to conduct corridor studies on 3 major corridors here in town, those being Pillsbury Road East, Auburn Road, both of which are slated to be performed by developers, and lastly, Litchfield Road. So our next step is going to be to fund, purchase, and install of traffic collection devices and begin corridor studies. So, Shearson, you're going through the intersections themselves. We can go through those. Again, the intersections that were identified, Pillsbury and Hardy for congestion concern. Pillsbury and Gilchrist, again, congestion is of concern. Gilchrist, Kendall Pond and South Road, congestion. Route 102 and Buttrick for safety. Route 102 and Harvest Moon, again, safety. Route 102, Parmenter and Old Nashua is, again, safety. 102, Tavern Hill and Avery is for safety. Harvey Hall and Litchfield Road is for congestion. Route 102, Mammoth and Litchfield was for congestion. Route 128, Mammoth and South Road is for safety. Route 128, Mammoth, Chase and Bacchus is for safety. That's a sight distance issue. Route 28 of Rockingham and Auburn Road is safety and congestion. So a number of those intersections are actually part of the corridor studies that will be performed, again, on the Auburn Road corridor study, the Pillsbury East study, and then some of the other items are really the on-state roads, such as this, the Route 28 and 128. Route 28 in Stonehenge, that's currently under construction. And then a proposed corridor studies, I'll let James touch upon those.
All right, so we have 6 different corridors that we are looking at. I'm sorry, 7 different corridors that we're looking at. In and amongst those are Auburn Road is the first one. That corridor is a fairly congested area, looking at a PUD that's coming along at the northern end of the road with several intersections of concern along it. Hall Road and Litchfield Road. Litchfield Road is a highly traveled road to get you up from Londonderry up to the airport. And then Hall Road is a cut through from Old Rockingham Road down to Litchfield. Pillsbury Road, with all the east-west travel going from Derry to Route 28, as well as the significant amount of development along the road, you have several pinch points plus a significant amount of travel along that corridor. Route 28, Rockingham Road, you can see there's several different locations along there, and we're in the intersections that John had identified along that road. It's a very highly traveled road with several spots of concern along it. And then 128 Mammoth Road is our main north-south corridor within town. The school, the town hall. There's a significant amount of business and municipal structure along that road. So there's a fair amount of traffic plus intersections along there that are concerned. And then the 102 corridor is by far our busiest corridor, east-west. You can see a whole bunch of intersections along that John had gone through initially, which is a major corridor, state corridor. All right, so the next thing that we did is we developed a criteria in and amongst speed evaluation within town. This is PD is about ready to jump in here. So the engineers do what the engineers do. We created a rather in-depth detailed criteria and protocol for any level of a speed adjustment. Key takeaways from here, and I'm going to read directly from the slide, is that you want to protect public safety with clear, defensible standards. You want to align speed decisions with state law and real roadway conditions. You want to respond to growth, neighborhoods, schools, and vulnerable road users. and you want to establish a reasonable speed adjustment for public acceptance and compliance. Your desired results here, you want to avoid a haphazard and impulsive change of, we're just going to change all the speed limits in town to 20 miles an hour. You're not going to get a good result. People aren't going to respect the speed limits. You're going to have enforcement challenges, and you're really going to take away from what the speed limits are intended to do, and it is to create public safety. So there's a fairly detailed process that's outlined in that criteria. And here is where PD jumps in.
Just
Before
on
we do
that,
can we just,
Mike,
Mike,
can you just talk a little bit about what you've done with GIS in terms of, you've got the accident data that you've placed on there, and that's on our webpage now. Just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, on the traffic management page, we do have a web map up that anyone can go view. It has, it'll have some traffic data on there. It'll show how we got to some of these, how we got to these priority areas.
This is an area that we want to enhance in terms of traffic data, so actually everybody can see it, not just town officials, but the general public can see it. And we're going to talk about speed counting devices and traffic counting devices, and we want to be able to feed that in, and that's where Mike's role is very critical for us. So we're tracking data real time, and we're able to put it up there so everybody can see it.
So with the safety concerns, is that measured mostly off accidents, or what is the methodology for that?
That's the accident reports, and he's got some of that
Okay.
data now from the PD that was provided, and they're gonna be enhancing that. They're looking at a new software program that'll be much better, because it doesn't give you qualitative data, it
Yeah.
just shows their accidents at the location.
But that's what I was asking about. Is
Yeah.
it based off accidents?
It is.
Okay.
That information he's got there, plus, yeah, and then you've got also, I think you've got some other calls in there too?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It's not strictly based on accidents alone. It's
Yeah.
based on the data we've received from some of these devices we have, along with crash data, specifically crashes with injuries, unfortunately fatal accidents, as well as with citizen complaints. We couple all those into determining where we're going to focus our target areas right now.
Thank
And
you.
I will get into that in a little bit, so hopefully I can answer some more of your questions.
All right, awesome.
And I just wanted to touch base on that speed limit evaluation that we were just speaking about. I think it's reasonable to believe that a lot of the neighborhoods in town, a reduced speed limit would be appropriate. And I think that's kind of taking everything into account. I do think it's I know that sometimes lower speed limits are upsetting to people, but I think neighborhoods, heavily settled neighborhoods, it would be appropriate. When we were speaking about, initially about this, when John was speaking about the strategy, one of the things he had mentioned was data collection. And I know that he had talked about corridor studies and all that. We're also looking at something, I say better, more encompassing, to give us more data. Installing speed signs in targeted locations to collect speed data and traffic counts. So it would do both. This will allow us to target specific enforcement areas based on that data. So this isn't just happening. This is getting the information and then responding to that information based on what we're able to obtain. It'll allow us to utilize, we'll also utilize movable data collection, which Lieutenant Olson is going to speak about later in the slides, to collect live data. So if we go back to the traffic safety enforcement slide. So our goal is to improve roadway safety by reducing speed, crashes, reducing crashes, and other high-risk driving behaviors. Using traffic data, crash trends, and roadway observations, we can identify areas of concern and focus resources where they have the greatest impact. This approach combines enforcement, data collection, speed awareness, tools, and engineering solutions to create measurable improvements in traffic safety. And how are we going to identify those problem areas? How we identify them is to ensure fairness, consistency, enforcement locations are selected based on using objective criteria. As Lieutenant Olson said earlier, there are citizen complaints. They're important, but they're only a factor in the process. We'll also review crash history, vehicle speed data, traffic volumes, roadway characteristics, whether or not it's school zone, residential neighborhoods, or business districts, which we have all over town. This allows us to focus on those locations where the data shows there's a legitimate traffic safety concern. What the data tells us. We measure, it gives us, when we get these printouts, and you're going to see them later, it gives us a lot of information. It measures average speeds, 85th percentile speeds, so those speeds that are really high, percentage of drivers exceeding the speed limit overall, and traffic patterns throughout the day, when it's busiest, when it's less traveled. It'll help us identify when and where safety concerns are occurring and allows us to deploy the resources more effectively. We can then assign the shift or specific officers over to those locations at those times, knowing that those are the high volume or high speed target areas. And it also provides a baseline to measure whether enforcement efforts and other traffic safety initiatives are producing positive results over time. So it gives us an outline of, is what we're doing working or is it not?
As far as the targeted enforcement strategy goes, as Chief Bernard said earlier, Randy Dyer is our only dedicated officer to that, and he's dedicated 20 to 24 hours a week, and he's doing a fantastic job. He kind of works with me in patrolling these target areas that we'll talk about in a few minutes. So he is assigned specifically to traffic enforcement. However, using a combination of traffic enforcement and the data we collect from these potential devices, it would help us better target certain areas. And on the random days where we might have an extra officer, that officer may be assigned to focus on that specific target area. A quick example is we had a very bad motor vehicle crash on Litchfield Road about 2 months ago. A young lady got significantly injured, and Randy Dyer went out there and he focused his efforts on that road, and he was still seeing reckless driving. He had 2 speeds above 80 miles per hour on Litchfield Road by the Victory Baptist Church. We've all driven that road. We all know how that road is windy, and there's hills that you lose your line of sight. So we need more assistance when it comes to making this town safer on the roadways. And what we'll go through is our enforcement strategy to help us get there. So targeted enforcement, it's a combination of visible enforcement, which is the deterrence, and the targeted enforcement, which is the data-driven response. Again, a speeding ticket is a specific deterrent. It's not a general deterrent. If we start getting some of these speed signs out there, that becomes a more general deterrent. People are being educated. They're seeing the speed. They see a speed limit sign that says 30 miles an hour. They're not looking down at their speedometer wondering what they're going, but if they see that flashing speed sign in one of these high-risk areas, they're going to say, wow, I'm actually going 47 miles per hour. I didn't realize I was going that fast. That becomes a more general deterrent as opposed to a specific deterrent of you're ticketing one person. You're giving that person a speeding ticket. Overall, people being able to visualize, educate themselves even, just saying, I didn't realize how fast I was going. Maybe I need to slow down. That's going to be a big part of this program that we're trying to implement. And how we're going to measure the success is the reduction in average speeds. And again, we'll get that data from these devices. It will show us speed patterns that have happened over a period of time on certain roadways in town. It'll give us a breakdown. Now, I'll show you all slides of exactly what that data is, so I won't bore you until I get to that slide. It's also going to have a reduction in the vehicles exceeding speed limits, crash frequency trends, especially with injury, repeat complaint locations. Hopefully that we won't have repeat complaints. If we do, we'll go out there and do what we have to do to make sure we take care of that. And the effectiveness of enforcement locations over time. But the reason why enforcement alone isn't enough is because traffic safety improves when we use the combined efforts. We've been talking about working as a team together. This is the police working as a team using data, using devices. That would be our team in this situation to go along with our officers who are on the road, as well as engineering with DPW, such as signage, markings in the roadway, design adjustments, and then public education. Public education would simply be us on social media saying, we're doing this, take notice. Like I said, the speed signs saying you're going this fast, the overlays on the GIS map that we're going to be putting in, where people can actually go on our town website and look and see what the data is and what, where the accidents are and everything that's going on. It's public education. And I feel like sometimes that is the best approach, is when people can see it and they can educate, they can educate themselves. Community concerns and transparency. This program is completely focused on safety. This isn't a revenue generating program for anybody. We're looking to make this community safer for everybody on the roadways. This is a growing community. There's elderly people that are on the road in this town. There's brand new drivers that are on the road in this town. We have We don't have the data right now to say how much we've increased, but I can guarantee you since the 1980s, this town has completely blossomed as far as residential, commercial, industrial, and motor vehicle traffic. It's exponentially grown just since I've been here since 2006. The locations that we selected, we did that using objective traffic safety criteria. We absolutely recognize public concern about traffic enforcement. It's a priority with the Londonderry Police Department. Visibility of enforcement can feel concentrated at times when you start seeing officers all piled up in the same area. We're trying to enforce the laws. We're trying to make sure that the roadways are safe. Efforts are targeted where risk is much higher. And again, I will show you the data that guides us to where those high-risk areas are. And fairness and consistency are our priorities in this program. Further concerns and transparency. Officers apply enforcement consistently across all corridors using discretion. Public input is part of the process, which is why this is being presented tonight and why it's going to be on the GIS map. Resident concerns help identify potential problem areas. We talked about that. That's one of the factors we use in determining one of our high-risk areas. All concerns are validated through traffic data. Transparency will be in our results. Traffic data and trends are reviewed over time. Enforcement locations are adjusted as conditions change, and the goal is measurable improvement in roadway safety. The expected outcomes we have from this will be reduced speeding in targeted corridors, fewer and less severe crashes over time. We cannot prevent everything. We understand that, but whatever we can do to mitigate it and lessen it, we are going to do. Improved driver awareness of speed compliance. That's those signs that we're talking about. They'll see their speed right in front of them. Currently, right now, we have 4 in town. There's 2 that are not working, and there's 2 that are working. Based on what we're looking to do, we're going to try and increase that so that there's more visibility. It'll be more efficient use of police resources, safer conditions for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. Now I'm going to go into the target areas. I know that initially there was 46 locations identified based on the traffic management group, and then there was 23 that were put as potential high-risk areas. We broke it down to 10 targeted areas as far as the police department goes. The first one is Hall Road. Hall Road has been a major problem for us. Our officers are constantly patrolling it, but again, much like on Plainview and Delta, we don't have a time frame where we should be up there when a car is going 95 miles per hour and strikes another vehicle. We just can't predict that. Our officers have concentrated themselves, especially Officer Randy Dyer, on these areas. So you have Hall Road, you have Hardy Road by Fay Lane, coming down the hill, going up towards Stonehenge. High Range by Shasta, again, coming down the hill, going into the Shasta right there. People don't realize how much speed they pick up when they're going northbound on High Range Road, coming down that hill, approaching Shasta Drive. Litchfield Road between High Range and Mammoth. That has been a problem area for us, and it's been a highly patrolled area, and we still have major motor vehicle accidents on that road. Mammoth Road by Chase Road. That's the very southern end of town. I actually have one of the data points I have will show you exactly what goes on down there. Mammoth Road by Rockingham Road. Mammoth Road at South Road. This is, in my opinion, one of the worst intersections we have in town. Mammoth Road, South Road, going across the Griffin Road. That's a very difficult intersection, just the way it's designed. Stonehenge by McGregor. Wiley Hill between Burlang and Preserve, another downhill. People don't realize how fast they're actually going into a curve, as well as an intersection at Burlang and Preserve. Hubby Road by the Pillsbury Road Cemetery. Again, another hill going into a sharp corner. People don't realize how fast they're going. So this is some of the data, and I know it looks pretty small, but I can explain it. So we have a device called a Black Cat 2, built by a company called JMAR. We currently have one, and this is all the data that it collects. It's a black box. I'll show you. Actually, I'm going to skip ahead to the photo. I'll go back to the data. This is the device we have right here, the JMAR Black Cat 2. It goes on a telephone pole, just as you see, and it collects data both ways, vehicle descriptions, all that stuff. I'm going to go back just so we can look at some of the data. It's very impressive. So this is when we had it up on Bartley Hill. We had it on Bartley Hill from June 7th, 2025 to June 14th, 2025. Captured 1,128 vehicles, gave us an average speed of 37 in a 35 zone. Of those, 1,100 vehicles, 50 presented enforceable violations. An enforceable violation, based on what we put into the data, was 10 miles per hour above the posted speed limit. So any vehicle going 45 miles per hour would be considered an enforceable violation. As you can see, the fastest speed, we had somebody going 65 and somebody going 7. It's probably just somebody pulling into a driveway. And then the middle slide, it'll show you the total speeds greater than all the way across, and then the vehicles that are actually traveling on that roadway and what their average speeds are. So if we have, you know, an 18-wheeler, a motorcycle, a school bus, what have you, it's gonna give us that data as well. What that also does, it assists us with no-through trucking. So if we start seeing a large amount of 18-wheelers or vehicles that are driving on a no-through trucking area, we can also focus some targeted enforcement on that as well. Another one was Hall Road. Actually, let me go back. So, bottom left corner of the slide on the left, you can see that was determined to be a low-risk area for, as far as an enforcement rating goes. Hall Road, you can see in the bottom left, is high. It's high because 53% of the vehicles traveling on that road, 53% of, so just for a time frame,
Oh my God.
July 30th, 2025 to August 18th, 2025, we had just shy of 19,000 vehicles travel on Hall Road. The data reported over 10,000 observable enforceable violations. 53% of people traveling on Hall Road were traveling 10 miles per hour above the speed limit.
You have one doing 87?
Had one doing 87.
Oh,
The average speed was 40, which is why it shows such a high percentage, because we have it set at 10 miles per hour above the posted speed limit.
Now, Chris, on that unit, it doesn't show anybody's speed. It
That-
just records.
It records, we go and we obtain the data from that device, we bring it back, put it on a USB, and it provides all this for us.
Yep, thank you.
And like I said, we currently only have one of those.
That's in the vicinity of Murray's junkyard, correct?
That, it was at the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
This was in response to the fatal accident. We put this up
Oh,
right
yeah.
after the fatal accident.
Again, just another example that I pulled up here.
And this is a year old, right?
This is, yeah,
From
this
last
was,
year, yeah.
So it's actually more traffic now because we have more, okay.
this is Mammoth at Bacchus. So span of September 24th, 2025 to October 10th, 2025, we had just above 124,000 vehicles traveling eastbound and westbound, northbound and southbound on that road. Again, it also, in the middle, I know it's small, I forgot to mention this. As far as targeted enforcement goes and letting us know when things are happening, it'll give you a breakdown of the time, the day of the week, and what the average speed is. So if we start seeing that on Friday evening at Mammoth at Bacchus, people are going 25 miles per hour above the speed limit, that's something that we can go down there and we can focus on, because we now know that. We have proven data over a 3-week period that says this is a constant, and it will break it down for us, whether they're going northbound, southbound, time of day, day of the week,
And type of vehicle.
and type of vehicle. Yep, on the slide on the right, it'll show you the type of vehicle. So we had over 19,000 enforceable violations, Mammoth at Bacchus over that stretch. Obviously, that's only 16% because there's much more vehicles as opposed to the 53% that was on Hall Road. And that was determined to be a medium risk area. Again, 83 miles per hour going by that intersection of Chase Road, Box Road, and Mammoth, unacceptable. Pillsbury at Michaels.
I question this one.
Pillsbury at Michaels has obviously grown quite significantly. This was a very short sample size.
Oh, that's
We-
why.
We had to move that to another area. So
It just didn't make sense to me that Bartley Hill
had more.
had more traffic than
Yeah,
there,
so-
when I know there's more traffic there. Now
Bartley
you
Hill
just said
was,
that.
About a 2-week stretch. This was only a 4-day stretch.
That's why.
Not
Okay,
not even a full 4 days.
okay.
And that was determined to be a low-risk area. Still had somebody going 63, and there was only 37 enforceable violations based on that 10 miles per hour above the posted speed limit that we had. Pillsbury and Jake,
Yeah.
same thing. You'd be surprised, but there was over 41,000 vehicles that traveled on Pillsbury and Jake Road between August 18th and September 1st, 2025. Again, determined to be a low-risk area. That does not mean that there is not negligent driving and reckless driving going on there, but based on what the data gave us, that would be determined a low-risk area. Now, there's probably a lot of people hearing these intersections come up in our targeted areas, wondering, hey, why is my road not on there? Our goal is to get more of these devices so that we can have more target areas to look at. The more data we can collect, the better we can do at utilizing our resources.
But you gotta make sure the time period's the same, otherwise the data,
The data can be
Not gonna
skewed
be
if we
inaccurate.
don't use the same time. As far as certain roads, obviously, if we do a side road, like Lawson Farm, we're probably not gonna have as much data as we would
no, but I
on
mean, these
Shasta.
main roads that you're doing, it should be that, if you're gonna do it for 4 days, do it, all of them for 4 days, so that the data is comparable to each other.
We're looking
We
at
do
permanent
one-
devices.
This is the, sorry.
Yeah, that's the
Sorry?
temporary. We're looking at permanent devices. These are temporary devices, these
Yeah,
usually?
no, I understand, this is wonderful.
Yeah, right, what I'm saying is though, we're talking about installing permanent device on that road, so you'll have 24/7, 365, we'll have data year over year, all the time. So it's different than these are temporary devices they put out, because they only have like one of them, so they're trying to do the best they can with it, but
I just
we'll
think
talk
it's-
more about that at the end.
I just think this is great, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, again, this next slide here, it shows you that breakdown of the days of the week,
Yeah.
northbound, southbound. It's truly an unbelievable tool that we have, but like I said, we only have one of those, and it is a temporary device. We do move it around based on needs, based on complaints, based on crash data that we're seeing.
Excellent.
That's the device that we have one of. These are the radar signs that we're looking to get. They provide us with unbelievable data as well. We're looking to, town manager, approximately 10 of those. We've identified 10 target zones. Dave's gonna talk, okay, all right, perfect. So as far as these go, they're gonna provide us with data as well. They're gonna be permanent. Their ideal thing would be to fix them to a current speed limit sign. The locations that we identified don't all have speed limit signs. It would make sense for us to put them on. So some of them may have to be erected on a telephone pole or another pole like that that would be put in by the town. The Stalker SAM-3 trailer, we have one of those. It is also another device that we can move around into targeted areas. But again, the objective is to obtain some of these speed signs so that we can have that permanent data. And I don't know if you want me to talk about the cost of anything.
I just want to go back to that speed sign, the permanent ones. We have, as Lieutenant Olson said, we have 2 in town. Well, it's actually only one left that is working. The other one has
Mammoth Road.
also died. The other one on Stonehenge
Yeah, it's
has
dead.
also stopped. So those 2 are done. The one northbound on Mammoth coming up to Lions Hall is also no longer working.
Right,
The one that does work, that you can see, is the southbound lane on Mammoth Road. The unfortunate, but although you can see it, you can see your speed, it's no longer recording. We're not able to get the data off of it. At some point in time, we were able to get car counts and speed data. We can no longer get that information from it. So these signs would replace the ones we're looking at are similar to that, made by the same company, but they keep that data, which we can access 24/7. And as long as it's obtaining power, and we're looking at solar-powered signs, as long as power is going to that sign, it's going to record it. Obviously, if there's a time when there's a battery issue or something like that, we'll miss that time period. But the goal is to get live data that we can see at any point in time. There's a couple options on how we can see the data, whether it's through Wi-Fi or remotely using cellular. I think that would be best, just so at any point any of us can hop on, check out that data, see, okay, wait a minute, we have an issue here on Hall Road. This keeps coming up. We have to do something. So that's the purpose. We'd like to get these around town and build a network where we can see what's going on live and share that with the public. I don't know,
is that the end of the presentation?
no,
Oh,
That was the end of ours. The summary was that our program is going to be data-driven, not just complaint-driven alone. And the focus is going to be on prevention and safety improvement. Enforcement is targeted, consistent, and it's measurable. We'll be able to provide results. We'll be able to provide data for the citizens of this town to see. And the goal is long-term behavior change, not just short-term ticketing. Short-term ticketing is not the goal here. It is to change the long-term behavior.
All right, so just in closing, or I shouldn't say closing, because this these issues never really go away. But in summary, you know, traffic, congestion, speeding, it's not unique to Londonderry. You know, every community around us and in the state and across this country are dealing with these problems. I think what you're seeing unique to how Londonderry is taking this approach now is what the town manager assembled here with this working group. You see the different level of disciplines that we have within this team. You know, you have good data now being collected from the police department, from what their officers experience on the road, as well as new technology that we can deploy so that when these types of signs aren't working anymore, it's not discovered 6 months later or a year down the road when we send somebody out there to figure it out. It's going to come in through Wi-Fi so that we can analyze that, and we'll know when that stops, and we can go out there and then get it going again. So it'll be maintained by the Public Works Department. You see a team effort collectively that engineering is going to take a look at road designs and what have you, and then all this data is compounded then and plotted on a map by GIS. So it's really a collective approach to gathering all that data to go after this before we make decisions or design changes or whatnot. It's much more than just saying, hey, let's make a code change. Let's identify a couple of roads because there's a lot of real upset residents there, and we're going to lower the speed limit, or we're going to put up a stop sign here and there. This is just a complete global overview of what we have going on in town. And one part of the presentation that we kind of passed over real quickly too, this just doesn't all fall on the back of the taxpayers, okay? There's a variety of funding sources that we can deal with through the planning process with what John does with designs and what have you, through our road program with James standing up a more formal road program. We're hearing all of these things collectively now. It's not just the police department against the speeders, or you know, the way that we set up a road, or the way that thank you for going back to that. We have PUDs, we can get, you know, folks that are building in town to contribute to some of these things. But more importantly, we've now gathered all of this information into one area. It's not just, remember that board meeting, we talked about this and somebody got up and had a rant, or, you know, an understandable one. Or, you know, the traffic safety committee has been dealing with things for years and years and years, but doesn't seem to be getting anything done, getting any traction. The people in this team now, in this group, has the ability to pull all that information together, formulate the best decision, and then deploy that for the betterment of the communities. And so that's what you see going on here tonight, and the team will continue to work towards that endeavor as well. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Could I just say one thing? I apologize.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Just going off of what he said, a lot of the equipment that you saw on that screen that we currently have was purchased with a state-funded traffic grant and was not on the backs of the taxpayers as well. So he's absolutely
That's
right in
good.
saying that we're utilizing different avenues to be able to obtain these.
Awesome. Dan, go ahead.
So, Mr. Chair, I just want to add that, you know, we hear a lot about traffic in town, and it's either police department, you need to, you know, run radar, you need to slow them down. We need to put a stop sign here. We need to put a stop sign there. A developer comes in, like at McGregor Cut, they put in those 2 signs, you know, to slow people down and to count. And I found it interesting when Mr. Mulholland came here, and I was sitting on the traffic safety committee, and I'd sit there, and, you know, neighbors would come in and say, I want my speed reduced on my street. We don't have any data to back that up. So he formed this working group. And I tell you, I've been to all their meetings. I think I missed one. I've been to their meetings, and it's amazing the collaboration that goes on with this group. You know, it's also interesting when I sit there and, well, who's going to maintain this speed limit sign over there on Stonehenge? I don't know. You know, can we get data off of it? They go and try to find data, and you can't get any data off of it. So nobody's been really told, this is your baby, take care of it, and get the information. These guys, I can't say enough of them. They're phenomenal. I love the fact that, you know, we're going to get this information. I like sitting there, and, you know, when you're talking, and we got all this development going on in town. A perfect example, Hovey Road. I brought up Hovey Road at one of the meetings because as we get 4A in, as we get more development in, what are people going to do? They don't want to be going down Pillsbury Road, all right, and 102 for all the congestion. We're going to look at cut-throughs. What's a cut-through? Hovey Road. If I go Pillsbury, Hovey, to Hardy, to Stonehenge, you know, so it just adds more to everything. So I think it's great the way they're getting the data for the accidents. And we look at the increase on the traffic, the data collection. So it also helps our police department, because I remember a few years ago, Mr. Chair, that, you know, we had a warrant article for a couple officers just for traffic. All right? And that to me is just a knee-jerk reaction. It's just like, all right, we're just going to throw people out there. With what we're doing here, what they're doing here, they're collecting the data. So now, you know, Captain Betancourt can say, between 2 and 3 on this road, we have an issue. Traffic is speeding at X amount, all right? And he can, you know, they'll send somebody there, and they can do enforcement there. I think it's better use of our resources. I want to thank the town of Londonderry, the voters, when they voted in the warrant article to allow us to be able to purchase these. The JMAR, I think, is a great tool.
Yeah.
Because I think it's great that it also tells you what kind of vehicle it is. You know, is it a motorcycle? Is it a truck? So I can't say enough. All of you, thank you for everything you do. I've enjoyed sitting in on these meetings, and I'm going to continue on going there and listening. I would encourage any counselor to attend these traffic, this working group, and see how it works. I think it's great.
Deb?
That was nice, but I got a couple of questions.
I like that. Oh, yeah.
So, these roads that you've all picked out, are you gonna prioritize them, you know, from worst to worst? Do you know what I'm saying? Is there gonna be a
Rank them 1 through
priority
10, 1
list?
being the worst, 10.
Yeah.
We chose not to do that specifically. So we identified 46 areas because there's a combination, in some cases, safety, some are just congestion, because the speeds are so slow that because there's so much congestion. So it's a combination, and we chose not to do that. What we did is, we can't fix all 46 overnight. So what we did, we identified what we thought were the 17 most critical to deal with first, to try to focus on those. And then PD focused, as they should, on the 10 areas where enforcement was the most valuable thing to do. And he identified what those are and their strategy to deal with them. But we're not going to score them in terms of, because if the people throughout this town, even the 46, I guarantee there's a number of people that say, my street should be added to this too, and they're probably right. But again, we got to focus on some and work our way through them.
I appreciate that answer. But what I was going at is putting them in some order, like you were just saying, breaking them out into categories, even more subcategories. So in other words, roads A, B, and C, and D, and F have the highest amount of accidents, and then those accidents are broken out into impaired driving, the road, that's where John Trotter would come in. It's actually the road's fault because of line of sight or whatever. Things like that is going to be more broken down as you get into it. I'm sure it's going to take a while. I'm not saying like you got to do it like that. I think that that's kind of important, and I do think it's important that I don't know which one of you guys are going to be representing the planning board, but you know, they and the council, we really should be looking at impact fees, extraction fees, and stronger verbiage in our development agreements to make sure that developers pay their fair share of how they're impacting something. So if something's an F and going to a G, even worse, even though I know F's the worst, but my point is they're impacting it, and they're impacting it by 20%. And they should have to belly up to the bar and pay their fair share on it moving forward, in my mind. The other thing is I want to say to you, Mr. Town Manager, it was almost a year ago. I sat here, you were sitting there, and Sean had brought up the traffic, that he was on the committee and that he wanted to really, his goal was traffic. And I said to you, I remember it distinctly, I said, would be great if we could just get some of the data from the police department. And I want to applaud you for taking that comment and that initiative to move this forward, to actually take the proper steps, put in policies and get the data to fix well, it's never going to be fixed perfect, we know that, but it would be a dramatic difference. So I want to say that was very great of you to do, and I want to say you guys did a fabulous job. And if you just take this data and just keep pounding it and homing it into being more and more specific, this is an incredible tool in your pocket to use. And that was it. I'm done.
So just a couple of things on that.
I'll go.
That's why the PD is looking at a new software program, because they did provide that. They worked with Mike. Captain Betancourt worked with Mike, and that there is data on our website about accidents, but the qualitative data is the important piece we're trying to
Yeah.
fix with that. And their software program they're looking at is going to provide better qualitative data.
Yeah.
And Mike can put that on there. That's a GIS overlay, which is
Yeah.
why he's a key part in this to be able to get that piece done. So we are working with the developers, as you know, with La Montagne for that PUD. For the first time, we're doing the traffic study, and they're paying the cost of that.
Nice.
And they agreed to do that, and they actually provided the first check for the traffic counts that they were doing there. There's other parts of that, and that's going to be like $130,000 expense that they're going to pay for. They're giving the money to us, and we're hiring our contractor to do that. Woodmont had the same thing. We had the same discussions with them on Pillsbury, the importance of having permanent traffic counting devices and all that, and they realized that. We're still working through that process, but I'm very encouraged working with them that we're going to get to that point, and my expectation is they're going to pay for that traffic study, not the taxpayers. So that's 2 out of the 3 of roads we own. Litchfield Road, we don't have a developer that would pay for that because there isn't a project in there. That will have to be a cost we have to bear on that one. The state routes are the other critical ones, certainly Route 28 South, all of Route 20. You get the Adams there and Peabody Road, there's a lot of congestion there.
Or even going north.
Yeah, absolutely. But we focused on the southern end because that's where the safety issues were because of the curves and the bends and the known accidents there. So that's not even on the state DOT list, Route 128 South. So if we can get a smaller, maybe we could convince them. This is the advocacy part at the state level. I know that Councilor Faber was with me when we met with Executive Councilor Stevens.
I was there.
Yeah, you were there as well to advocate that. And then, Representative Perez was there also to try to advocate for the corridor study on Route 102, which is like 25 on the list, which means it probably won't happen, to get that moved up. And then fortunately, though, Route 28 is higher up on the list. That's an important one, too. But we've got to keep pushing that like other communities do. That's a key role that our legislative delegation needs to do, and
Right.
and the council, the advocate, that's the political part of this, to get the state, because they own those roads, to focus their attention here on that.
But what makes that so strong is this data.
Right, exactly.
So now it's not, oh, this got a lot of accidents.
Right.
It's like, look, here's the data,
There you go.
boys. We now have the data, and so we can revisit the state and say, you know, we told you this was a bad road. Now here are all the facts to back it up. So what are you going to do? You need to pony up.
Exactly.
So I think that's awesome. So
Yeah, that's all part of the strategy. We have
I
to make
applaud all you guys.
we have to make the case, and that's what this team has been working on and doing it. And we're making progress. We've identified key areas that we have to work on. And again, anybody else that's out there, we know there are other streets that are issues, but we can't solve all those problems at once. We're going to try to make an effort in this particular area. Now, the next steps for us. You got more questions? Because
I had a question on the traffic studies, because so is my understanding, and I've seen a lot of these on the planning board, that Stantec does it for the town. We have the developer do the traffic study for them. I'm just trying to see what's the difference between how we've done it before and how it's changed.
What they do is a peer review. That's what
Okay.
we've been doing. They do the traffic study, so they're the ones who create the data. And then we just do a peer review. HTA is another firm that we use for that. The difference is we're doing it. We're deciding where the locations are, and they're working for us. When you work for somebody, you work for them. And we saw this most recently in a project that we started out where they said we only had to do one thing. Well, we ended up making them do 4 things. So it's depending on who you work for, depends on the kind of message that you get. And that's why it's important for us for them to be working for us and having them pay us to do those, because they're working in our interest.
So to be clear, though, before the developer was paying for the traffic study and doing it, but they were deciding the locations?
No, they would sit with staff to determine what intersections they were going to do an analysis on. But again, it was the developer's consultant that was doing the analysis.
Staff.
Exactly.
Okay, so
And then our third-party consultant would do a
the
peer review, correct.
so this way, instead of the developer's person doing it, then the town's doing it. Okay.
They can water it down.
Yep.
Just cut to the chase.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
the
you
way I
get different
understand it, John,
versions of
would
the
be
problem.
the town does it,
Yeah, I
but the
got it.
developer pays for it.
Yeah, I get it.
So next steps, the next steps will be coming to you for the authorization to expend money out of that new transportation capital reserve fund to purchase devices. We're finalizing with the locations, and those will be permanent devices. They will do two things. They will give us the speed, as you saw there, plus they will also give us the traffic counts, which is what we want. Year-over-year data, we'll be able to see the peaks and flows of that activity. Then Mike will be putting that information on our GIS webpage so everybody else can see it as well. And then as time goes, we'll do more of those. We still have to figure out how we're going to deal with Litchfield Road because, again, I don't have a developer to have them pay for that cost. But Pillsbury, we're working with Woodmont on that one, and we've already started with Auburn Road corridor with LaMontagne Builders because of the PUD they want to plan up there instead of the taxpayers having to pay the freight. So those are the next steps. We expect to do that on July 6th. Come to you to ask for money to be transferred there because you have that authority to allow us to do that for those traffic counting devices to get them purchased and installed. We're looking at about 10 of those. That's a start. Obviously, we need to have more, but we need to be judicious about how much we spend right now and work our way through that process.
Yep,
Those are the next steps.
fantastic.
I think you have our support. So, thank you, guys. Excellent presentation. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I just want to
Yeah.
touch base on one thing.
Yeah.
These men are awesome, by the way.
Yeah. Agreed.
So we have had traffic counting devices, and we've had measurable data since 2008. In 2008, we purchased our first JMAR. Those are the ones that you used to see. They're a green box that were chained or bolted to the road to a pole or to a guardrail and had a tube that went across the road that we used to send our officers out there with a hammer and driving those things into the ground. So we have had this data for a long time. In about 2015 or 14-ish is when we went to that black box, and those were a lot more expensive, and the data has gotten better with time. But even before that, back when we were all rookies, you know how we did traffic data? We would sit in our car, and we were given a sheet, and we were told to stop cars for a half an hour, and you would clock your radar. They went by at 30, you write down 30. Up there's 38, you write down 38. That's how we did it. And if anybody was over that threshold, we would stop them, write it down, and that was the original data: paper, pencil, and a cruiser. So thank you for listening to these gentlemen. I just wanted to share that we do have data. We've been sharing it for years.
I just want to thank the whole committee. I mean,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have this without you and all the work you've put in for the whole, almost a year now at this stuff. So this is the end
Yes.
result of all your hard work. So
Very much appreciated what you guys do, so thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.